Yeah, we've been trying to work on this stuff in the USA all morning pretty much, and I've been working on spreadsheets and so forth, and Mary's trying to communicate with people in the States and so forth, but we haven't yet got a resolution. It's been going on now. I think the total time to resolve the one here in Australia was probably 4 weeks or something like that. We had everything resolved, but the other one's been going on for a couple of months and nothing's getting resolved, and there's all this miscommunication happening all the time, and there's all these personal emotions of different people involved. And I say to Mary, dealing with people in fear, you don't realise that dealing with people in fear is one of the most difficult challenges, because you are always working through the filters of the person all the time. Their filters about money, their filters about what's good, their filters about,
how people
guilt,
think of them,
what people think of them, and everything. It's just like constant. And so when it comes to actually organising an event, you've got all of these things all getting imposed upon the event, when from my perspective it's really simple. You write one email to the venue with a list of everything that you can think of that you want. You get an email back saying yes or no, and you say fair enough and move on to the next venue. I don't even need to negotiate with them. It's, do they want to do it or not? And if they don't, then fine, move on to the next one. And it's not really hard. Like, I find things that go on for months and months, they can be resolved usually in 2 minutes. Have a phone conversation, 2-minute conversation, it's all done, And it's interesting how the emotions get imposed upon the organisation of events, because particularly the money emotions of the attendees and the organisers. Man, it's just full on. Money emotions, man. People need to deal with their money emotions. Honestly, it's like there is so much fear involved in money.
yeah.
Like, it's inculcated. You think about most of the arguments your family had when you were a child. Usually it's about something to do with sex or money. Honestly. If you think about any arguments that are had inside of the family between mum and dad in particular, it's usually about sex or money. They might make it about other things, but usually it's about those two things, And it's just full on, like how much of it gets carried into adulthood and how we perceive everything. Just to give you a bit of an idea, in the event, the venue that we've arranged in Australia, the price of a bunk bed, which is a very tight little room with 4 beds in it, with no other thing in it, and barely any room to manoeuvre, really. The price of that for a single person to hire it is $1,000. With the meals included and everything else. So we're talking meals and food included. So that the food and meals and the water is $40. So it's basically $60 a night for the 10 days for the monk. Now, if you just go up by $20 a day, you can get a full cabin, right?
With your own room.
With your own room, with your own bathroom. You don't have to walk anywhere. You know how many people would prefer to book the bunk for the sake of $20? Lots of people. You'd be so surprised. Lots of people would prefer to book the bunk for the sake of $20. And I'm going, what's happening with the love of yourself there? Honestly, it's like, and some would prefer a camping site is $850, and you've got to bring all of your gear. And so for the sake of $150 to go to a bunk, for the entire period, that is, so that's like $20 a night as well for the entire period. Well, not even that, it's $15 a night extra. You've got a bunk that you don't have to bring anything, right? Just your clothes. Your clothes. Yeah. And why would you want a camping site for? I don't get that. In the middle of winter,
that's the thing.
No heater, unless you've got a heater of your own. Then you need to add $15 to that to get the heater, the power. Yeah. That's not per night, though. I don't think that's for the entire time.
No, it's per day, but per site, not per person. So
it's per day, but it gets mathematically challenging for most. But the but the reality is, like, no matter how hard up you are, for the sake of $20, I can't understand the choice. Does that make sense? Just can't understand the choice.
I could
And
understand camping versus bunk. If you have your own van, you can drive
you
up
just
and
drive
you've got
in,
everything set up.
everything's going
I
and
get
whatever.
that,
I understand
definitely,
that.
yeah.
I get that. But, man. And if you're really sincere about processing emotion, do you think you're going to manage it with another person you don't know in your room? Probably not.
I couldn't.
So you'd seriously consider, if you're really serious, you'd seriously consider just paying for the whole room yourself, wouldn't you? If you're really serious about it. But honestly, money becomes the biggest priority for most people in their decision-making process. And you analyse your own day-to-day processes, money becomes quite a large decision-making point on any issue. And
We were just saying this morning that we want to stay, like we would never want to give our travel plans to somebody else because we'd end up on flights at 6 a.m. or midnight or, you know, just to save a few dollars. And when you travel as much as we do, you don't want to do that all the time. It's really hard on your body.
So people in the States want to book a shuttle from the venue to the airport at 6 a.m. And I'm going, that means you made the flight at 8 a.m. Why would you make a flight at 8 a.m. for? The only reason why you would is money. Right? Is because a flight at 8 a.m. or earlier is cheaper than a flight after 8 a.m. Does that make sense?
But if you're sharing a room with someone else, that means you have to get up at 4:30 or 5 and pack up all your gear.
So all this unloving behaviour that incurred just for the sake of money.
Yeah.
You have to wake up your person you're in the room with. You have to go and have a shower. The person that you're in the room with is going to hear all that. They're going to be awake that entire time. Then the poor guy who's driving the van, he's got to wake up at 5 a.m. from Austin to get to the 6 a.m. appointment time.
Earlier, yeah.
So he's got to get up at 4 a.m. He's waking up all of his family at 4 a.m., having a shower, doing all the other things he's got to do to get in the truck by 5 a.m. And, you know, if you add up all the unloving things that are going on, just for the sake of $100 flight difference, you got to wonder where our priorities are sometimes, right? And this is what we're trying to get at you to you over the last day or so about emotion. Is you have no idea how much your emotion dictates what you do in your life at this point in time. And the more aware you become and emotionally expansive you become, you're aware of every emotion and how it affects every decision you make in your life. Does that make sense? And it used to, like, there were times when I was living in the past in my life where I've been living under the unemployment threshold in Australia. So, and for quite some period of my life in Australia, I've lived under the unemployment threshold for long periods of time.
The income.
The income that an unemployment benefit would give you here in Australia. And there was a period of time where I lived under it for nearly 9 years. Like, for nearly 9 years of my life, I lived under that. But do you know what? I still paid a guy to mow my lawn. Because I thought, you add up mowing the lawn, takes you what? Maybe if an average, thing, you've got to get out the mower, start her up, you've got to go all the petrol and issue, or, get the petrol and all those other things you do. By the time you add up the time, even if you've got a little lawn, it's an hour, right? You've got to buy the lawnmower, you've got to maintain the lawnmower, and it's an hour of your time as well.
That you can't earn in doing other
That you can't do any other thing. And at the time, there was a business in my local town, which was in South Australia, that would do my lawn for $20. And I'm going, $20 of my time, plus maintaining the lawnmower and everything else, that's a bargain. Like, why wouldn't you go for that no matter what? Like, whether you're on unemployment benefits or earning less than unemployment benefits, or a millionaire, you'd still go for it, surely. It's just a bargain, no matter which way you look at it. And yet, the majority of people don't. They get out the lawnmowers, save their time, and a lot of times it's not something they want to do, right? And the guy who's doing it often wants to, like he enjoys it, he just goes from place to place to place. And for 2 years, I actually did that for other people as a job, right? Did their lawns and everything. And I loved it. It was fantastic. You just go from place to place. But when it came to doing my own lawns, no, I had better things to do. Like I did. And I didn't, and particularly better things to do than get out the lawnmower, mow it, put it back, maintain the lawnmower and all those kind of things. And yet we just don't think about all of those things. We don't value our time. And value of your time is about your worth, and worth is about your emotion. So, and basically for the majority of us, $20 is worse. Like you'd rather not pay $20 and spend half an hour of your time saving it. You think about it. Why do so many people go to sales? Like, it's congested, everyone's there. You know, sometimes they even harm each other. You know, in the States they have these days where it gets pretty hectic, right? And almost like stampede type thing. And
what I find funny is I think they have that right after Thanksgiving. You know, they have a certain... So right after... Yeah, after.
It's
but
like
it's
Christmas,
ironic,
New
isn't it?
Year's
You
Eve,
just
you know?
spent a whole holiday giving thanks for everything that you have, and
then
then you
you're
go
out.
and elbow bar to Granny to get a bargain. Like, it's pretty strange to me.
And there's so much unloving behaviour, no matter which way you look at it, and it's all driven by emotion. Like even the feeling of wanting to get a bargain is a major feeling for most people. That'll drive them to travel like for example, up our way, I don't know what it's like down here, but there's lots of these little town fairs, like country markets, where you can get the local produce and go there. Often it's more expensive than in the shop. Often it's in poorer quality because they've stored it for a longer period of time. And often the attitude of the person serving you is not very nice at all. It's not, you know, if you could feel their attitude, you probably wouldn't want to buy from them in the first place. And then on top of that, you've had to try 20 more Ks and, you know, return at an unusual time. And usually they start at 6 a.m. And to get the bargain, you've got to actually arrive at 6 a.m. And if you add up all of that, unless you really love going to one of them, why would you go? I don't understand again. Just in terms of worth, your own worth, like how you feel about yourself, why would you go? I value 1 hour of my sleep above that. I don't know about you, but that's how I feel. 1 hour of my sleep is certainly more valuable than doing something like that. And we find the same with people who make arrangements for our flights and accommodation. Quite often they make arrangements for our flights where we've got to get up at some 3 o'clock in the morning to meet this plane at 6 o'clock at an international airport, you know, that's an hour away or something like that. And it's just crazy. Like, we go, yeah, that's not happening ever again, you know, where we allow someone else to book our flights for us. There's no love in the consideration. It's just money. So how can we save some money? And to me, that again is an emotion that we're not feeling. It's stuff we're not feeling. We're all powerful creators from God's perspective. We all could be abundant if we really wanted to be. If we didn't have that fear, we could be. But we're not. And we impose this fear upon everything that we do in our lives. Everything. You try it. If you honour your fear with regard to funds, with regard to money, you will find in the long run that you will have less money. Guaranteed. That's the way God's universe works. It's there to trigger you, to help you work through the emotion. But when you start honouring every decision you make with regard to funds and honour yourself in the decision, honour your time, honour your effort, honour the people around about you and what they have to do for you in order for you to save money, when you start honouring that, all of a sudden money starts coming to you. Interesting. Does that make sense? And yet we don't believe it because our parents didn't believe it and their parents didn't believe it, and so we just retain another emotion that dictates the rest of our life. Yeah. So that's probably a bit of an intro to what we want